What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso. Another emergency podcast, because why not? Sunday morning, we did just release our 12 pack. However, the news has dropped that Haason Reddick will be reporting to the Jets on Monday. The team has agreed on an adjusted contract. They're going to waive the fines. They're going to continue to work towards a longer term agreement. Woody Johnson heavily involved in the deal. It's finally over. One of the more bizarre, borderline brain dead holdout situations I have ever seen or covered around this team. I always thought, like many people, that this would be resolved at some point in late August, early September. I never thought Reddick would consent to missing so many games. And it seemed to reach this bizarre thing where his agency needed to fire him because he wasn't taking their advice. The team, what did they sign up for in trading for this guy and the headache that he was going to bring from a contract standpoint? And then you have the slow start. You fire Robert Saleh. You trade for Devontae Adams. And now you finally get Haason Reddick, who I'd guess, he probably plays a little bit versus New England and then is really full go for the Houston game. And will play, the back half of the year effectively. So, look, in the vacuum of the Last Dance Jets and the win now window for this year and ostensibly next year when he'll also be a part of this, it's a good thing on the field. Haason Reddick, as we've said for a long time, is really good. He's had 4 straight seasons of double-digit sacks. The Jets badly need pass rush help, especially with Jermaine Johnson out for the season. Their defensive line rotation outside of Will McDonald and Quinnen Williams has been an unmitigated disaster. Joe Douglas basically took apart the strength of the team, and the way he went about backfilling it has failed to date because a huge part of backfilling it was Haason Reddick. Now Reddick will be here. It's just, is it too little too late in this season? Jets 2-4. They have to win tonight on Sunday Night Football against Pittsburgh. Otherwise, you basically need to not run the table at 2-5, but pretty much run the table to get to where you need to get to. I think 10 wins is really the safe number to make the playoffs in the AFC. 9, not impossible, but very risky. So, look, this roster, it's a good roster. However, up until these last 2 moves has been very clearly 2 pieces away. It was 2 pieces away before week 1. It's been 2 pieces away in these 6 games. And it's all reared its very ugly head. If you watch the Jets, you knew coming into the year, and then if you watch them this year, you know that they needed another playmaker on offense. And they needed another person who could get after the quarterback, especially once Jermaine Johnson went down. So once the agent was switched with Rosenhaus, Rosenhaus isn't getting involved here unless he's getting some money from it and getting the deal done. So I'm not surprised that something happened relatively quickly. And there was only so many games left here where he wasn't going to accrue a season. So time was of the essence. And this kind of lines up to some of the timelines we were generally hoping for and expecting if it was going to be something in season. So let's see. I mean, he will, if he's himself or anywhere near himself, he should make a pretty big impact. Also make McDonald's life a lot easier. I also found it interesting in what was being socialized in the early reporting. No one's shy to say that Woody Johnson was heavily involved. And this is also after Woody Johnson, had his press conference last week talking about not thinking and how the Jets are just going to kick ass. And it's just, I'm curious of the internal dynamics in the building because the Jets have made 3 major moves and we've heard not a peep from Joe Douglas, who's supposed to be the most powerful football guy in the building. So he's the GM, but is he the GM in name only right now? Much like Nate Hackett is the GM and are the offensive coordinator in name only? I don't know. It doesn't really matter at this point. It's discussion for another day. I am glad from a roster perspective, these 2 guys are here. They needed both the players, I think, without question. Now, how much of an immediate impact can they make? And is it too late? That's what remains to be seen. Now, it's not too late if the Jets can stay on the trajectory we've been discussing. Can you get to 4-4? Can you get to 6-5? And then out of that bye week for the stretch run, these guys are in and up to full speed. It's a complete roster, pending there's not, any more crazy injuries or anything. So, this news, this breaking news is I think we break a record for podcasts in a week and break a record for emergency podcasts in a short time frame. Is it going to have any impact on the Steelers game? Obviously, Devontae will have an impact on the Steelers game. Should have some type of impact on the Pats game. And then I'd expect them to be full bore for what should be a critical game, knock on wood, against Houston. So, look, the Jets again have a chance to pivot their season. Now, last week would have been a great time to do it against a division team in their building. I would say Pittsburgh's not quite as good as Buffalo, but now the Jets are on the road. Pittsburgh integrating a new quarterback that has pros and cons to the matchup. Jets still sitting as 1-point favorites. I picked them to narrowly lose on the pod that dropped this morning. The Reddick news, of course, has no impact on tonight's game, but you win it. You're saying, all right, we're 3-4. We're playing the worst team in football the following week. Can we get right back to 4-4 and we have all of our guys lined up? So what a week. What a 10 to 12 days it's been for the Jets. A little late to the party. I would have loved the Devontae and Reddick moves like the first week of September or late August. Like, what did anyone gain by waiting all this longer? Like, the Jets ultimately gave up what we all thought they'd give up in trade compensation. Reddick got fined what we thought he'd be fined, and now he's getting his money back. It's just like a wasted 6 weeks in many ways. Still, pass rushers, guys who hit the quarterback, guys who get double-digit sacks added to the roster. Good, needed. Let's get a goddamn win tonight. And to my Met fans out there, it's going to be a night, man. We'll be back right after the game with immediate reaction, and then we'll be flowing through with all types of pods Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as we always are. While I'm here, I'll answer any remaining Q&A questions from the Discord. Michael G3, not sure if it's the cynicism in me. I don't have faith they'll go 8-3 the rest of the way and finish with a 10-7 record. Do you, was the question. If I was picking it today, even independent of the Reddick news, they're 2-4. I would think it's more realistic they finish at 9-8 than 10-7 or 8-9. I think they'll be 8-8 going into that last game against Miami, and there'll be playoff stakes on it. They beat Pittsburgh tonight. It's easier to talk yourself into 10-7, right? Then you're basically finishing. Can we finish 7-3? You look at some of the games on their schedule. Maybe it's not as crazy. You got to get that win tonight, though. So my current answer is no. I think they'll finish 8-8. I'm sorry, they'll finish 8-9 or 9-8 if they win tonight. Well, the trajectory, the needle moves a little bit, and you feel better about 10-7. Last question from Kafka Zone. Do you have a Badlands podcast rec for Yankees fandom? I'm actually a Yankees fan, not a Mets fan. Although at this stage, I know this is like blasphemy. I'm rooting for both teams. I don't follow baseball in that way. I follow it, but my fandom, once you get past the Jets and the Knicks, I only have so much fandom energy left. So I'm technically by trade a Yankees and Rangers fans, but it's not in the sicko way I am with the Jets and Knicks. I don't know. I don't have like one specific one that I particularly love. I know there's a bunch of decent ones out there. I will say that, and I've thrown this out in the Discord and Twitter a few times. Like, we've definitely batted around the idea here of like testing out other sport versions of Badlands with the Yankees, Mets, Knicks. New York centric, I think, is what we would do. So if anyone has any recommendations or wants to host podcasts at a maniacal rate like Connor and I do, let us know. Anyway, big Sunday for New York sports. Big Sunday of football. Pat's kicking off in a little bit. I don't know if we want them to win or just get embarrassed. Either way, it should be an ugly football game. And then interesting slate today. You'll get the Dolphins. We got Titans, Bills. You got to figure the Bills are going to win that game, even without Will Levis starting for the Titans. You get Eagles, Giants. Kind of interesting. Packers, Texans. I guess you want to see the Packers win, but the Texans feel like they're kind of running away with the South at this point. And then tomorrow you get the Super Bowl rematch. It's not a game it's not a day overloaded with games that are going to have an immense impact on the uphill climb the Jets have on their look for a playoff spot. Colts, Dolphins could go either way. In which way you root, I suppose you want the Dolphins to lose because Jets still, they play with those teams still a bunch. The Broncos won Thursday, which is an ideal. Be an interesting day of football, culminating with Sunday night. So welcome, Haason Reddick. Please come and get some sacks. Please get Michael Clemens off the field. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.